And lo, the Dark Lord shall possess all the vehicles of the land, from Vauxhall Corsas and Ford Fiestas alike, eventually working his way up to ice cream trucks, hovercrafts, and hot dog trucks. So it is in there. Oh, hello there. And welcome to 2 Hours of My Life, the show that scales down around 2 hours of my pointless and fleeting little life to average YouTube video length. I hope you laugh heartily and subsequently rot in hell. Now, some of you are probably thinking, and I emphasise some of you since the only people who watch my channel are bored insomniacs and people with gun barrels jammed to their temples, but some of you might be thinking, what happened to the trauma review you promised at the end of the last one? Well, that's gone on the back burner for a bit, what with me being a lethargic hack and Nick being a chronic drunk. So instead I offer up an entirely unrelated question. Has anyone really considered cars to be that frightening? I mean, maybe back in the old days when seeing a car passing by was an event akin to seeing Bigfoot pissing on your front window, but nowadays they're about as common as air, they're hard to miss, and oftentimes it's your own fault if you get hit by one, yet there seems to be a very small niche area in the horror genre that insists they are scary. Well, you know what? I did a bit of research. See, it's not all just my opinion. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration claimed that in 2012, car accidents claimed over 25,000 lives in the US, with around 12% of those being pedestrians, though they didn't go into details to how many were snuck up on in the shower. And that conveniently leads me on to my next offering, The Car, a 1977 horror film about a demonically possessed Lincoln Continental terrorising small-town America by offing cyclists, French horn players and other undesirables. But not wife beaters, they're alright. It's not impossible. There have been decent examples. Christine was a suspenseful film, and Alfred Hitchcock showed how birds, another common everyday thing, could be scary. Unlike the birds, however, The Car was dubbed the cinematic turkey of 1977 by Gene Siskel. Then again, Gene Siskel did compare casting women in slasher films to the real-life cruelty of bullfighting, so yeah, I'm gonna give the cinematic turkey a chance. First of all though, I do love this tagline. What evil drives the car? Hey kids, it's time for What Evil Drives the Car? What evil drives the car today, children? Why, it's Francois Duvalier! The film starts off in typical 70s horror style with the tragic deaths of a young couple who may as well be a pair of dried leeks hanging off a doorknob for all anyone cares. To be perfectly honest, the most surprising thing here is that they aren't fucking each other senseless in a deserted summer camp.
Yeah? Now who's getting home?
Well, certainly not you. You're a young couple in the opening 10 minutes of a schlocky horror film. They're a species of mayfly with longer lifespans than you. Of course, not realising the futility of their actions, they attempt to run, or in this case, cycle away from their fate. Look, stop this, you're not getting anywhere. Screaming won't do anything, it got your girlfriend, just end it all. Stop being stubborn, I mean look, it's got predator vision, you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. Just let go. There. Wait, did that car have a truck horn? It did? So the film stars James Brolin's mustache as Wade Parent, a local sheriff's deputy who, having recently gotten a divorce, is looking after his 2 young daughters and engaging in a relationship with the local school teacher, Lauren, who starts off resembling a female Jim Carrey.
Now you listen to me, Copper. You move toward that door, and I move slowly toward the back door.
James Brolin wants to try and get his daughters to accept Lauren into their lives, which doesn't seem all that hard, actually. They don't seem to hate her at all. In fact, for young girls, they seem fairly mature about the whole situation. At least the older one is, anyway.
Daddy, what she means is that, well, we know it was bad between you and Mother. And maybe you're scared of getting married to her again.
Oh yeah? Well, you're a doo-doo head. Anyways, replacing the two faceless cycling college students from earlier, we have this horn-blowing waste of testicle space who, as a fellow member of the human race, reacts the way any of us would when confronted with the sight of a man beating a woman in broad daylight.
Well, I just don't think you ought to be hitting that lady.
Oh, you don't, huh?
What a hero, everybody. He doesn't think you ought to be hitting that woman. Domestic abusers everywhere heed those harsh, resounding words. Well, gee gosh, Mr. Hitler, don't you think 6 million's a bit much?
Can't move too fast. All I got's my thumb.
Well, stick it out and hope. And if I hear another sound out of that thing, I'll go ram it so far up your ass you'll be farting music for a year.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Farting music. For a year.
Why is it I hate him more than the wife beater? Well, I shouldn't whine. Old Reliable shows up and saves the day the way only he can, by mincing him into the ground like the skinny waste of flesh that he is. Go on! Yeah, kill the little wanker! Oh god, I'm a horrible person. It's around here you start to notice just how weird and stilted a lot of the dialogue is. Particularly the scene where the characters will suddenly pause awkwardly and stare at each other suspiciously like a tense game of mental poker.
Gray, black maybe?
Sedan?
What the hell? Am I on trial here?
It's like one of them farted and they're trying to figure out which one.
Bullshit, you saw two doors.
Well, with all that dust in the air, how could I tell anything for sure? I don't know. Damn it, I don't know.
What do you mean, for sure?
What? Hey kids, it's time for another edition of What Evil Drives the Car? What evil drives the car today, kids? Why, it's Ted Bundy! So the film also stars wait, I know that guy.
He feeds on fear and the pleasures. They are his children.
Ha! I got you. It's not the guy from Twin Peaks. It's just another guy who also happens to be Native American and also happens to work as a deputy in a small town police department, so he looks like him. Which kind of makes me a horrible racist. The film also stars Ronny Cox, who's an alcoholic because he saw into the future and realised he was going to die on Mars at the hands of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That kind of thing can drive you to drink. Or, I don't know, maybe the inbred banjo-playing kid from Deliverance haunts his nightmares. Either way, you know who Ronny Cox is and I get to make a film reference. It's a win-win. Meanwhile, they've found the bodies of the cyclists from earlier and everyone is pretty torn up about it. Apparently the two pieces of random cannon fodder at the beginning were interesting enough beings that their deaths warrant Ronny hitting the bottle again. Which is all fine and good, except from the audience's perspective it's like suffering from PTSD after watching someone stab an advent calendar to death. Oh, speaking of traumatic situations, let's say you're in the market for a killer car movie. I mean, what would you want from such a movie? Well, a killer car for one thing, that would be good. A few laughs, a bit of suspense, sorry, what's that? A domestic abuse drama? Okay.
If you don't press charges, Bertha, there's nothing I can do. That bastard can get up and walk out of here. And when he finally decides to roll back home, bombed out of his empty dead head and drop kicks your face over the county line again, don't call me.
Well, congratulations. We've found a film to meet your oddly specific tastes. I'm guessing you like mayonnaise in your coffee. And that's the problem so far. It's all far too serious for its own good. For the love of God, crack a joke, do something. You're a movie about a demonically possessed land vehicle. The audience started laughing ages ago. Why can't you?
Whiskey! Let's go to the club!
Sad, ain't it? So who wants to get drunk and beat up a hooker? Well, I must admit, they do a pretty decent job building up this guy's character in the space of a few minutes, even while Broen moans about his non-existent problems in the background.
You know, this morning, all I had to do was to figure out some way to get the girls to accept Lauren.
But if a movie like this is engaging in this much character development now, then that must mean, oh shit. Screenwriting 101. If you're going to build up a side character, make sure you start doing it earlier in the film instead of doing it moments before the character dies, because at that point I might as well be fucking psychic. And to be honest, I'm kind of wishing I was, because I'm wondering when they're going to kill this prick off. I mean, come on, he's been asking for it for the past half an hour. Well, bring it on, Satan. Something I've noticed so far, this film keeps using the main theme from The Shining. Funny thing is, it appears a lot of care went into at least trying to make this creepy. The sparing use of the camera, the foreboding music, the slow build-up. Trouble is, it's a movie about an evil car. I don't think I've ever found school parades so creepy. Well, the car must scare somebody. In fact, it scares this guy so much that he just runs out in front of a stampede of horses for no adequately explained reason. He just kind of does it. It's not even like he can't avoid it either. He actively vaults the fence and kamikazes head first into a river of Tesco lasagnas. I would find it funny if it weren't so fucking senseless. I have still seen stupider deaths in films though. After attempting to distract it with a rodeo, the kids and teachers run into a conveniently placed graveyard.
Hey, you! Why don't you get out of your big ugly car, huh? We'd like to see what you look like. I'd like to see what a creep like you looks like. Well, come on, get out of your car, huh? Let us all see what a lunatic son of a bitch you are.
Well, good thing we know it's a demon car and thus can't pass on to hallowed ground, right? I mean, otherwise it would just seem like she was endangering children by taunting a dangerous psychopath. Thankfully, that's not the case. Also, I think this film attempts a jump scare at one point.
I'm getting near the top.
Oh, don't feel too bad for him. He was clearly having too much fun. Besides, he probably would have made it if he hadn't stored all that nitroglycerin in his roof. Though to be fair, his death isn't half as awesome as his mates. Now that's how you flip off the police. Finally, it comes down to this. Man versus vehicle. Mustache versus grill plate. A tense battle of wits ensues. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing I could say could make that funnier. Hey kids, I'm back with another What Evil Drives the Car? What evil drives the car today, children? Why, it's the Westboro Baptist Church! Well, here's our hero, everyone. Hospitalised after being nudged gently down a slight incline. Whilst everyone else is trying their hardest not to giggle at the thought of James Brolin walking around in an open-backed hospital gown, Wade ponders the car's invincibility.
Looked like he smashed through our cars like he was stomping bugs. I didn't even see a scratch on him. How the hell could he get past our roadblocks?
Good question. I particularly like this scene since James Brolin treats Ronnie Cox like a child who's just wet the bed and tried to cover it up.
What happened?
What do you mean?
I told you to cancel that parade rehearsal. What happened? What happened?
Well,
It's not what I think it is it?
no.
Now look it up, you little prick! Do it! To be fair, I think the idea of Satan possessing a car and murdering half a town made a lot of people want a drink. So Lauren heads off home and soon realises she's somehow being stalked by a roaring mass of steel. Don't worry though, Bob Ross came along and painted a lovely portrait of Brolin to make her feel safe. Check it out, that eyebrow could conquer galaxies.
Listen to me, listen to me. As I was coming up to the house, that crazy wind came up. It almost blew me off my feet.
He's behind you!
What to do, baby?
It's not uncommon to be run down after a hard day's work. It's at this point that Luke posits that the car is in fact a product of hell itself. Morris Marina?
How dare he! I must write an angry letter.
This is something that Wade initially refuses to believe due to it being the stupidest idea ever, and who the hell would even make a movie out of that anyway. So they enlist the help of the local wife-beater to blow it the fuck up with his totally legal collection of explosives. Well, thanks for your help, Amos. You do realise you're probably going on the terror watch list after this, right? And Christ, there's a lot of scenes where people stand around looking worried. Something bad happens and everyone stands around looking worried. James Brolin gets nudged with a door and everyone stands around looking worried. Worried, worried, worried. Well shit, it's almost as if they've never had to deal with an invincible demon car before or something. So while the wife-beater and the entire police department engage in the great American tradition of discreetly passing around explosives while trying not to wake up the ATF, Wade gets ready to leave only to find that the car has inexplicably ninja'd its way into his garage. Apparently it's quite good at that. From here another battle of wits takes place. I can relate to this, actually. I've got to stop going in there. What? So at this point, Wade escapes John McClane style and gives chase to the Brimstone Bentley on his motorcycle while Ronnie Cox and the others sit uselessly at a drive-in cinema where they appear to be showing a documentary about the Grand Canyon in the background as two overweight teenagers pork each other vigorously in the back seat, causing the truck to jiggle up and down like a rapper's Beamer.
That son of a bitch is coming right behind us!
Ronnie, I don't want to know what you see in the rearview mirror. Just let them finish and we can focus on the film, okay? Meanwhile, the wife beater and a couple of the other officers are lining the canyon with explosives. There's really not a lot to this ending, so I'm just going to show you the scene where they blow the fucking thing up, because to be honest, the joke pool's becoming drier than a mummy's arsehole. This must be what Pat Robertson sees every time the Glad sets fire to his lawn. And so they stand there and watch as the sun rolls over the mountains, making everyone totally forget that they just made a hero out of a wife beater. That's the end of the film. Verdict? I've seen worse. It just kind of feels like someone picked up the script of an old 50s B horror flick, gave everyone sideburns and porn stashes and went from there. And for a movie about a killer car, the pacing resembles a rusty tractor being pulled up a rocky hillside by a group of overweight Scotsmen wearing sandals. The dialogue is clunky as hell, and as previously mentioned, most of the film is people standing around looking worried. The only time the pace ever picks up, funnily enough, is when the car appears on screen. To its credit, it does try to develop its characters, and none of them, bar one, ever really come across as annoying. It's shot well, and the action is well directed. It just doesn't seem to want to have fun with itself. Throughout the whole thing, the most fun it has is when Chaz, the Native American deputy, occasionally makes reference to the stereotypes of his own race.
Liz, why don't you quit playing sheriff and go back to what you people do best, huh?
If I do, White Eyes, you're going to be in heap big trouble, because I'm going to track you down and shoot an arrow straight up your ass.
We got an 8.
Sit. Down.
But I guess it's a fun little novelty to watch with your mates. I mean, if you really wanted a properly decent killer car movie, I'd recommend picking up a copy of John Carpenter's Christine. Not only does it develop its characters fairly well, there's some genuine suspense and humour to be had. And honestly, you'd expect more fun from a film that starts off with a quote from Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan. So overall, not particularly good, but the cinematic turkey of 1977, I don't know, something tells me there was worse out at the time. Well, anyways, this has been 2 hours of my life, and I'll never get it back. Oh God, this is getting old.
Hello there. I was wondering if you had the time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Satan.
So, what evil drives the car today, kids? Why, it's Brokenside!